to show you how I make my beef jerky, and it's super, super easy because the way I get the meat already pre-cut at the co-op, I get a 100% grass beef stir-fry meat, which actually is one of the cheaper cuts. This is what it looks like. It's already pre-sliced, and you can actually buy a large flank steak or something if you'd like, and slice it yourself. It's just, it takes a little bit more effort, and I don't really like cutting meat. It kind of grosses me out. So you take this package, someone's sneaking in here, and open it up, and then you have to get a clean jar.
Hey, that's fish.
Buddy. And you just take this meat, and you just check it out. If some of them are too thick, you're going to want to thin them down a little bit, but we kind of like our beef jerky a little bit thicker, so, but you would definitely want to make sure that they're uniform. If there's some pieces that are really, really big, they're going to take a long time to dry out. And I just drop them in the jar.
Hey, Mommy.
Hi, buddy. He likes beef jerky too.
Hey, Mommy, I know what to do. These chunks are so huge.
Mm-hmm. So just make sure they're all pulled apart.
Those ones are so huge. Mom, squares walk like this.
Wash the meat off your hands.
Mom, squares walk backwards.
All right, and now we flavor it. And some of my favorite things to flavor it with is organic Tamarai, which is a gluten-free soy sauce. So this adds the salt flavor. Then I also like Bragg apple cider vinegar. This gives it the sour. This also helps kind of tenderize the meat a little bit. This is definitely my favorite kind of apple cider vinegar. It's raw, it's good. It's got the stuff floating in it that's called the mother. That means it's like the real raw, good apple cider vinegar. Then I had this Oriental Worcestershire sauce, so whatever kind you would like to get. I just really like the spice that this brings to the beef jerky. And then the molasses. My kids really like this. It adds a little bit of extra iron. It's just, it's something that I recently started adding into the beef jerky, and it just gives it kind of a, almost like a teriyaki, because it's kind of salty, sour, sweet. So it's really good. So I just take this and I add however much I think that we're gonna like proportion-wise. I mean, if I wanted a little bit more sour, add a little bit more vinegar. If I wanted a bit more sweet, more molasses, and so on. So I just add it into the jar. And this recipe is really a non-recipe because I never measure it out. I just add until there is liquid covering the meat. And I usually err on the side of having more apple cider vinegar than anything because that really makes the meat nice and tender.
We're missing peeling piece.
And then I put the spices on, the seasonings, when I actually put it in the dehydrator, like the cracked pepper, and if we want to add any additional sea salt, that all goes on when we put it into the dehydrator. So now that I have liquid, most of the time I buy enough to actually fill this jar with meat, but this time I just got a smaller portion because we already have a bunch at home. So you just shake it up, stick it in the fridge, keep it in there for anywhere from 8 to 24 hours, and then we will come back and revisit putting it into the dehydrator. Alright, so here we are in my laundry room to do part 2 of the beef jerky. This is where I do it because I keep my dehydrator sitting on top of the washing machine while it's dehydrating. That way, if it heats up, it's not going to be getting hot underneath the cabinet filled with vitamins and supplements, or it's not going to take up a tremendous amount of counter space. So I just stick it on top of my washing machine down in our laundry room, and that is where I make all of my dehydrated food items. So the beef jerky has been marinating for 8 hours, and I am going to take it out and put it onto the dryer sheets and show you how I dehydrate it. So here is the dryer sheets that I have. Now this is an Excalibur dehydrator, which I absolutely love. I use these sheets. You can also, there's also the mesh, but the juices will go right through. So it comes with a few of these sheets. What I do is I take out my beef jerky. See, it's been soaking in there. And like I said, I usually have the jar all the way full with meat, but because we have a batch on hand already, I didn't want to make a huge batch because I don't want it to go to waste because it's wonderful grass-fed beef. So you just go ahead and take out your chunks of meat. and lay them down. Oh, these are a little bit harder to get out. And I'll just dump actually all the marinade down the wash tub. Because you really don't want to reuse that marinade again. So make sure to get all the liquid out. And then usually I use a wide mouth jar, but I had run out. They were all being washed. So I take my beef jerky, and like I said, our chunks, we like ours a little bit bigger. It takes longer to dehydrate, but they're meatier portions. I've done the really thin ones before, and I don't know, we just like the bigger chunks, so that's why I use the stir fry. You can also have your butcher slice the meat really thin using their tools, which is very handy. It saves you some time. And we'll wash the hands. And then we use the cracked pepper. And I have a really good black Malabar pepper. It's from Trader Joe's. And this adds a nice flavor to it. And it smells fabulous. That marinade is just so good. And then if you want to, depending on how salty you like it, I mean, we did have a little bit of salt flavor in the marinade. You can add a little bit of cracked sea salt to it as well. I usually just add a little tiny bit. Then you take this. Typically what I have is probably about 3 sheets of this when I actually make it in our regular size batches. Now I like to take out some of these sheets just to create a little bit more air circulation in there. So I'm just going to set those aside. Then you put the cover back on. Turn it on to the meat setting, which is, and my machine is 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Turn it on and dehydrate it until it looks like it's done. Then you want to flip a piece over and make sure that that bottom side is not still pink or looks like it's raw meat. And if that's the case, you let it dehydrate a little bit longer. You're going to want to test a piece, make sure it's done. There's no internal temperature thermometer that you're going to be checking. You're going to be checking how done it is based on taking a taste. So it will take several hours for it to dehydrate, but just keep an eye on it. This is a project you'll probably want to be home for after a few hours just to be able to keep checking on it. It's not something you could leave going for your entire work day. So this is more of a weekend thing to do, but the good part is if you make it in a huge batch, you can have this last, like I said, we do it about every other week. So if you only have to do this twice a month and have a continuous supply of healthy grass-fed beef jerky to keep in your purse or for on the go, or keep it in your fridge for a quick snack. It goes really good with just sliced up raw cheese and pickles. Is one of my favorite snacks. So this is how you make it.